Hi, this is Kamil. Today we will talk about how to install your own agent on Windows. Agent for Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is very popular tool for building CI/CD processes. However, it very often happens that we have some of the systems of our infrastructure in the enterprise, in the internal network, and the company's policies does not allow us access for external components. Hence, open your firewall to the world. This somehow complicates the preparation of Azure DevOps and the application of its agents to the current on-premise architecture. In such a situation, we have the option of installing our own agent in the internal network, which will work with Azure DevOps system. Now we are going to talk about how to create a self-hosted Windows agent. An agent that will host ourselves on some machine, whether it's in our company, in our local network, or it's just like I'm going to show here, I'm going to use for these purposes because it's more convenient and easier for me. I'm going to use for these purposes a virtual machine which I prepared earlier. I will show such a virtual machine. This is my virtual machine, this is its name, and it's already fired up and it's already heating up, waiting for presentation. We'll connect to it in a moment. Why? It's a lot of scenarios that I don't want to go into details whether to use Microsoft SQL Server database in the cloud or just on-premise, and it turned out that a large majority of you use on-premise SQL Server. So if you like to, for example, to use the Azure DevOps portal provided by Microsoft in the cloud and not hosted in your own infrastructure, in your own company, it can also be combined here, and this is one of the scenarios in which you can use an agent hosted in your own company, in a local network, and this agent will communicate with it. Or maybe the Azure DevOps portal will communicate with such an agent. We can create many of these agents. Nothing particularly limits us here. Okay, so how to start? How to get started? So first of all, let's show you where we have these agents. If we deploy or prepare the release pipeline, maybe not this one especially, because this one already has an agent set up. This one should have some kind of general Azure agent, and here we see what kind of agent it will be. Specifically, we are talking about an agent pool, and here is pool is provided which is called Azure Pipelines. This is the default pool hosted in the cloud by Microsoft, and we have access to it by default. There are two agents over there, if I remember correctly. I click Manage and go to Project Settings, where you can see all the jobs that I have been done so far by this Azure Pipelines pool, and I can also see the agent definitions. One agent is available. So here I have an agent hosted in Azure by Microsoft provided for us. Okay, now I would like to, because such an agent would have to somehow get in our network, well, it can be solved in various ways, although opening a gateway or some port directly for databases or servers is not the happiest idea. Of course, it can be done to deploy database using an agent hosted in the cloud, but as I said, for security reasons, it's not necessarily the best idea. That's why it's often created its own agent. We host our own agent. How do you prepare it? I'm going to come back. Now let's go back. Agent pools, okay. We need to create our own pool. A pool is actually a set, for example, a list of all agents that are logically contained in a given group. We don't have to worry about this. I have already created such a pool. Something as you can see here I already had, but I removed this agent so that I could present it from scratch. So we need to create a new agent. When we click the new agent button, we actually have instruction on what to do next. And first of all, where to download such an agent from. Here we have download button, or we can copy URL. I'm going to copy the URL, and then I'm going to go to my virtual machine, and I'm going to paste the URL into the virtual machine, because that's where we need to install the agent. So of course, earlier we need to prepare a physical machine in the company, or maybe a virtual machine, but it should be located within the internal network. So I'm going to go to this virtual machine of mine. I will paste this address here. The address is this. I mean, it could be changed, probably not, but it can change depending on the version. But you don't have to worry about it. The whole instruction or link to this file is given. It's a zip file, as you can see. Of course, I have downloaded such file before, so I will show it now. It's located in my download section, and this is the file. In the next section, as we saw there was also a quick guide to what we need to do in the next step. There was also a script which showed how we can use PowerShell script to deal with this zip file. Here the matter is simple, because this PowerShell script is not doing anything else except that unpack this zip to a specific location. What is the location? It should be the shortest possible location. The best, most commonly used here is the location on the C drive. Of course, you can use another one. This is not a problem. But the point is that the agent's path should be as short as possible. If we are using, for example, Azure agent, that in logs we can see that this path contains drive, then \a as agent / some work directory, etc. There are single letters, so that when all the paths are passed together, and at the end we don't lose those precious characters at the beginning, because as we know, there's a limit on the length of a full path in Windows. I don't remember the exact number, but nowadays it's very easy to achieve the limit, especially when somebody in projects builds very long folder names. So for that reason, it's worth doing that. The file of PowerShell script that we are going to execute is like this. We set a location on the C drive. This is the first thing. We create a folder. In my case, it will be a folder named agent. We go into this folder, add or import a library, which will be used to decompress in a moment the file, which is located in my folder download. This is a .NET library. Also, as we can see, PowerShell perfectly supports also .NET libraries. So I copied this script just from that page, and I will run it right now. A few seconds later, we should see everything in the newly created agent folder. All files should be extracted right here. Once this is finished, then we need to install the agent. Install agent, and I will do it in separate window, because from my experience, it's not always successful here in Windows PowerShell ISA application, even though it's running in administrator mode. Okay, it's still running, it's already unpacked. So let's go back to the agent. We don't see anything else here, but kind of all the necessary files are there. Now we need to run this file. This file is located right here in the agent folder. So this is it, and it's a batch file. It's just a file that contains all commands to get us through the installation process, really. All right, then like I said, I'm going to use a separate PowerShell window for this, which I'm also going to run in administrator mode. I'm going to go to this agent folder, and I'm going to run this config.cmd script. Okay, fine. The application or script approach me with a request, which is URL. Now what is the URL address? I'm about to show that this URL is nothing but the address of my Azure DevOps portal, including the name of my organization. In my case, the name of the organization is SQL Player. This is a unique name, so the URL link will also be unique. I have prepared it in a separate file, so I just paste it here and you will see everything. This is my URL. This is also the address I'm working with in my Azure DevOps, so I will paste it in, approve it. That is the first thing. Now what will be the authentication? I'm going to use token-based authentication, which has to be created first. Such a token needs to be created first, so I'm going back to DevOps to create the token. As you can see, we go through this path all the time. We have a link here to detailed instruction if anyone would like to take a look there. So there's no problem to see in detail what you need to do there, and it's also described when it comes to the whole token, how to create a token. This is where the instruction starts to create a token. I did it a little bit in reverse order, but there's no problem. We're going back here. As we can see, no agent has been created yet. It's not communicating with my portal yet. Now I need to create a token. So I come over here, and here I have this option in this menu, personal access token. If I click on this option, I can see this list can be empty, or it can contain, like in my case, already created tokens, which are used by various services or applications to communicate with my Azure DevOps portal. Even though I have already a token created, I'm going to intentionally create a new token here to show you how to create it and what permissions we need to assign to this token so that the service, in this case the agent service, will be able to get and talk to the right level or with the right permissions with the portal. The name of this token is, we can come up with something here like PAT token custom agent, for example, organization SQL Player. When it expires, I will change it here so that the token expires tomorrow, let's say. And now the permissions. This is the most important. Here we don't see by default all permissions, so it is very important to use this show all scopes option. So I click this button at the bottom, this link, and at this point I can see all the permissions that are available for the token. What I need to set, this is the first thing, this is agent pools, and here I set the read and manage permissions. The second thing is the deployment groups. I'm going to use a cheat sheet here because I don't remember it exactly. I wouldn't want to have to repeat this. And this is the second group of settings or permissions that we need to set. Deployment groups. We check the only option is read and manage, and we are actually left with creating this token. In response, we receive a key that we must copy. This is important. You either have to keep it in a safe place or you can use it and forget. But in a case we need to use it again, well, if you don't have it stored, then of course we have to create a new token. But if we have it somewhere, we can use it again and again. Why I'm talking about this? Because in a moment when we close this window, we won't be able to look at this token anywhere else. It won't be available for us. It's encrypted. Okay, I'm going to copy it over here and we'll go back to the virtual machine. Paste that token here. Come back. First, we still decide which authentication type it is. The authentication type, so for the token, we click enter. This is important. It can get confusing. Now we paste the correct token. Please don't worry, this token will be removed right after the video is recorded. So all of you who watch this presentation, this video much later, you will not be able to use this token. Okay, now the agent registration. The default pool that we want to add this agent to, this is the pool that is showed in the Azure DevOps portal. In my case, it's called Private Azure Pool. That's the name I came up with, and I would like to add it to this pool. What agent name will be visible in this pool? What we'll see in Azure DevOps portal? By default, I will leave this VM name, but of course I can change it, and I will still be asked to indicate the path or the folder that will be used for this current work for the agent. If a task is delegated for it, I can either leave the default here, _work, or change it to W, for example. That's it. The settings for this agent has been saved. Now I'm asked if I want to run this agent as a service. I would like to run it, and now I have the opportunity to indicate, if we run as a service, the user or account under which the agent will work. Previously, I created a separate account so as to have full control over permission, etc. And here I have to give the name of this account first. In my case, it's a locally located account because I don't have any domain here, with name agent, simple as that, and the password for this account. I copy it again so I don't make a mistake, paste the password, enter, and that's it. The process was successful, the process has been started. Let's see if we come to services in this window, it should be visible. In this window, it should be visible here. VSTS agent as the name, whereas when we open services, that's in the documentation as well, depending on what type of agent it is. And I think he can go by different names. There were 3 names there, at least 3 different naming types I saw. Whereas in the service window, we see this under the name Azure Pipelines agent. So it's running, we are using this account, and so on. So we can see that the service on our computer, in this case on our virtual machine, is up and running. Furthermore, it should have already been automatically contacted. It should have called back to the portal, to Azure DevOps, and said, hey, I'm here, I exist, so you can communicate with me on this port, so please add me to this pool. Yes, so let's see if that actually happened. Back to my browser, back to the pool. I was in SSDT. Project settings, and the agent pool, private Azure pool is this pool, and the agent. As we can see, the agent has been created with the name that we have shown. The agent is currently online. It is waiting for any requests that we may make to it. Here is the agent name, status, and so on. We can turn off such an agent, or we can see the possibilities of such an agent. Here are various parameters, or a list of parameters, properties and values, which define not only certain paths to the agent, but also such properties or such parameters can also define its capabilities by the existence of all field parameters we are able to check in pipeline if a given agent meets certain requirements. For example, we may have some agents which have SQL package installed, or other application which we would like to use, and another pool of agents or another agent which will have or will be used for something else because it will have other services or other application installed. We can also use this to control and, for example, add a new capability named SQL package. So as we give it this property, it will jump into the list and we can check it using pipeline. At the end, I will just show you in the release. I had previously created a release pipeline which I was using to test this agent with this virtual machine. I will show only that here we are able to define a different pool than the one that was the default. And here we are defining the pool of agents that we would like to use. And what's more, we can define some requirements that this agent must meet before it will be given some action, some task, or perform some job. So here we have an option and here I just defined a requirement. As you can see, that this agent must have a SQL package property defined. This property just has to exist. The other option is that something this property must equal some value, and that's what the value field is for. Alright then, and in this case we can use again a different task, either already defined or prepared by someone, or simply prepared and available for free or for a fee in the marketplace, and use various other tasks to deploy the database. In this case, I use a task called publish DACPack using DACPack publish profile, where I specify the publication profile and deploy the database to the target server. In this case, my target server is the same host that is the same virtual machine where I also have SQL Server installed on a local virtual machine. Now you know how to install your own agent in the local network and how to configure it to work with Azure DevOps. Thanks to this, you will be one step closer to starting the preparation of full automation of system deployment. Good luck and see you next time!